Welcome, everybody. I wanted to today talk to you about a couple of things because we've had a number of customers talk to us about a couple of things. One is obviously we have a lot of their users working from home, so there's a lot of inefficiencies around how people are working. And the second thing is, what do we have to do right now? Customers are doubling down right now to make things a lot more efficient, effective, but also reduce, if possible, the operating costs. So what I've decided to do is over the next few weeks, talk and have conversations with a few vendors who I'm hoping will help serve our customers and give some brilliant ideas and tools and technologies that will help achieve these two things. So I have with me two lovely gentlemen. I've got John Milionis here from Riverbed, who is the channel director. Hi, John.
Hey, Maria. Nice to speak to you this morning.
And then we have the technical extraordinaire, Con. Con from Riverbed.
Hi, Maria. How are you?
Is there anything that you don't know, Con?
There's probably a lot of things I don't know, like when all this is going to end, for example.
That's true. I don't think anyone has the answer for that one, Con. So we're all in the same boat. So what I do is start by asking you, John. So the first one is we have a number of customers, as I said earlier, working from home right now. We have, whether it's a small organization with 50 people or a large organization or medium organization with 500 to 1,000 people, all of a sudden you have the 400 or 50 people who are working from home working in the office, move all of a sudden to working from home. So you've got massive load on the bandwidth that they have right now. That's one area that I would like you to address. And the second one is, what could we do using Riverbed to help customers save some money, if it's possible? So could I let you talk to that? And I know at the end of this con, you might want to show us some of the technologies that possibly John's going to talk about.
Yep.
Over to you, John.
Yeah, thanks, Maria, and thank you for the opportunity. And to the audience listening, thanks for doing so. Look, the challenge that we all have now is performance. Performance is something that's emerging as a real... We live in a zero latency world where, when we don't have real-time experience, we start to get frustrated, and it costs us time and money. And, that's really become evident now as the whole workforce en masse has shifted to home. And so we're in an environment where we're all competing for bandwidth. I've got my daughters from at home learning at home, so they're competing with me, and I'm trying to access core applications. Speaking of which, there's one of my daughters in the background. Perfect segue. And this has also been coupled, Maria, with the move to SaaS and cloud. All of a sudden we've got most of the key business applications in any business running in SaaS or cloud. So things like their CRMs, things like their ERPs, things like their asset management systems, and their marketing systems, content distribution. So the essential infrastructure and organs of a business are now in SaaS and cloud. One of the really interesting things is when we think about that in Australia, most of that infrastructure is hosted in Sydney. For users in Sydney, their experience may not be that bad. So they might be okay, or they may not be. But certainly for organisations that have national footprints, so their staff might be all over Australia, they're going to have a very different experience with their SharePoint, for instance. For organisations that might be out in regional parts of Australia, they're going to have a very different experience. And so the connectivity type, where people are working from, how they're trying to access these applications, where these applications are hosted, the types of files and so on are a real challenge. And one of the things that we can't do is all of a sudden move to a home-based working scenario, and it just takes us minutes and minutes and minutes to download and access the key applications and files that we need, because that is going to cost businesses a lot of time and effort. It's going to put a lot of strain on IT departments and the MSPs that support them to try and understand where the problem might be. So Riverbed's been dealing with these challenges for a long time. So getting solutions that we do have, and it is gaining a lot of rapid traction in this day and age, is we can accelerate applications all the way to the client laptop, for instance. So we can have a software agent sitting on your laptop or any one of your customers' laptops and accelerating their O365 directly into Azure and then bouncing to O365. So we can give them a really good performance benefit. And Con's going to give a live demonstration of how this can simply work. And it's a really economical solution for, most mid-sized organisations and above. And it's something that we're seeing strong traction in. So, we are addressing the sort of challenge from working at home and fighting for bandwidth, but also, making sure that, the applications that are key to a business, get the performance that people, I guess, are hoping to get at home.
Yeah, one of the questions I have, John, is a lot of people weren't prepared and still aren't prepared for almost 100% of their staff to work from home. So what they might find right now is they switch to working from home and then they realize there's a performance issue. So how easy is it to then get something like what you're about to propose into the picture, get them up and running? Because most people will go into panic if you've got 400 or 500 staff or 100 staff suddenly having to work from home, and then you realize there's a performance issue, because as you can imagine, these are unprecedented circumstances, so no one's prepared really.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, look, it's purely software, Maria. So, Riverbed spins up its virtual infrastructure in Azure at the back end. So that software agent is deployed on the client, which is software as well. So at this point in time, it's quite a scalable solution for the current environment. No hardware involved. But Con, you just might want to touch on that.
Yeah, sure. So, we've been doing this for a very, very long time, John, and we've had the ability to be able to accelerate inside the data center, customer's own data center, or into SaaS or into infrastructure as a service, a relatively new sort of concepts or capabilities for us. So if the customer's an existing customer, then they'll already have the physical infrastructure that they need in place. And then it's just a matter of just spinning up some software for a controller and some agents on the desktops. If they're not an existing customer, then we can put a virtual steelhead inside their data center, or if it's SaaS, it'll automatically get spun up for them. Or if it's infrastructure as a service, they can acquire it through the marketplace and deploy it through there. So everything can be software based, and we also have obviously solutions for our existing customers as well. So essentially, it's actually very, very easy to spin up.
So really, the engineers or the tech people don't have to go into the office to set this up. Is that what you're saying, Con?
Absolutely not.
Fantastic, because obviously most people don't want to head into town.
No, that's right.
Being safe. The other thing too is I know for a fact when John spoke to me probably about a year ago now, when he approached me, in my head, again, having been in the IT sector for as long as I've been, the perception that I had of Riverbed was that it was for the very large enterprises, at least back a while ago. So I know that things have changed and it's a lot more affordable. So could you talk to that, John? Where and which areas are you seeing an uptake of Riverbed, and is it actually affordable for people given the circumstances right now?
Yeah, that's a great question, Maria, and it is it is a commonly held perception in the industry, which we're working really hard to address. So there's no denying that Riverbed has, for many years, worked with the world's leading organisations and helping them with performance. But one of the beautiful things about that for mid-sized organisations now is that we can take that learning and absolute expertise we have, and we've brought it down into the commercial and mid-market segment. So I'll give you some examples. We started with optimization, and it's still often what Riverbed is known for. We've fundamentally changed the way we deliver optimization. The commercial model is very different, and we've seen reasonably significant cost savings in doing that. So we're seeing optimization now being a very, very cost-effective and powerful solution, particularly with bandwidth constraints at the moment, in the mid-market segment. Our SaaS acceleration technology is a dollars per user subscription type service. So once again, very economical for the mid-market. We also have an SD-WAN play, and most SD-WAN solutions now have to be around a cluster. So there's the median price, and plus or minus everyone is in there, and Riverbed is certainly in the marketplace and very competitive against most of the major SD-WAN providers. So certainly, we've taken that pedigree, but our solutions now, there's a lot more subscription, a lot more dollars per month per user type solutions, lots of different delivery methods, lots of virtualization. So we've got away from hardware. So as the technology ecosystem changed,
Hmm. Got it. I think we lost you there for a minute. I do have to say apologies to the audience because John's working off a very, very tricky mobile connection there. He's in an apartment where there's hundreds of Wi-Fi connections, did you say, John?
Yeah.
Really competing for bandwidth there. So I guess I have another question too. So I've got a mix of people who'd be listening to this. You've got the technical people who know who Riverbed are and what you can do with the technology, but you also have the senior executives watching. So what does this mean for my business? So if you were to convert what Riverbed does into business speak and business benefits, what would be the benefit for a CFO or a CEO or a general manager of a medium-sized organization? Why would they have to invest in this?
Yeah, look, it's a really, really good question, and it cuts to the core of, the essence and the DNA of who Riverbed is and what we believe technology is about. So in 2004, Riverbed was founded, and we were founded as a performance company. And that's what we do. And performance has to be the absolute end outcome. So, there are certain things that are mandatory. Security is absolutely mandatory, and let's just tick that as a given. But performance is key. And what Riverbed does is we improve performance significantly for all applications and networks. And Con's going to flip to a live demonstration now, which will demonstrate the power of performance. So, Con will demonstrate the outcomes that Riverbed provides to an organization. And then when a C-suite executive business owner sees the impact of this, then multiplies that across all the applications they use in their business, and the number of times that people in their business perform those tasks or access those types of activities, I think it'll be startling them, Maria, in terms of the quantum of what performance means. So if okay, I might just hand over to Con, who'll do a demo, and I think it will speak to what performance actually is in real time and what it means to C-suite. So over to you, Con.
Okay, thanks, John and Maria. I'll just switch over to my screen and just start sharing. I think I want to share. Actually, I'll share my whole screen. So, can everyone? Can you see my screen now, John?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So, to give you an indication, John and I work for a US-based organisation, and everything that we have, all of our IT resources, all that sort of stuff, are all in the US. So, we use this technology on a daily basis, and more and more of our applications are moving into cloud. Things like Office 365, things like Salesforce.com, they're all moved into the cloud. But guess what? Because we're American-based, all of these applications are located in the US. So for John and I to access these applications, typically we would get some, not so good performance. So what I'm going to show you now is just my OneDrive, and I've got a number of different size files here. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to download a 100 meg file, and then show you how fast that's going to that comes down. And then what I'll do is I will turn off our technology and then show you how fast it is without our technology running. Right. So let me just download this, and I'll start the download process. It's a 100 meg file. You can see that incrementing. It's probably going to take less than 6 or 7 or 8 seconds to download that file. Now, what I want you to also show you is this is one of the, I guess, tells us about what performance I was getting. It tells me a little bit about what I've been doing on my computer. This little connection here was the connection to Office 365, to SharePoint, and it downloaded that file. What spent 100, or what was normally would have been 100 megabytes of data going across the network, actually translated to 254K. So instead of sending 100 megabytes, all we sent was 254, because we've seen the contents of some of this stuff before, and so we don't have to send the whole lot again. Now, that has implications for performance, because you can see how quickly that came across, but more importantly, also for egress charges when I'm using infrastructure as a service. So instead of sending 100 meg, I'll only be charged for 254K, which is a fraction. So, John, I think you'll probably cover that a little bit more, will you, at all? In terms
Yeah, I will,
of
mate. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think later on, John, you could probably tell us how much money you've seen typically people save.
Yeah, sure. So sorry, just on that screen, Con, before you go,
Yeah.
just in the performance statistics there, Maria, you'll
Yep.
notice just a bit higher, Con, in the middle box there. You'll see total data reduction of 84%, and Con got a 6.3 times performance impact just by using our technology. So you imagine now you've got
Fantastic.
lots of users across the country, all using laptops. You imagine if on there things like O365, Salesforce, ServiceNow, Box, like a lot of the key applications that Riverbed works with, they're a hell of a lot faster. So instead of that frustration of latency and waiting, and it's taken them minutes, they can get real-time improvement performance. So, when we talk about C-suite, sorry, Con, just do the next bit. Try and download this document without.
So what I will do now is I will actually turn off the optimization capabilities. So it's now disabled.
Yep.
And what I will do now is I'll just select the same file and then just run the download again. And now you can see.
That's considerably, because that was about 6 to 7 seconds, and we're looking at 30 seconds here.
Yeah, that's correct. So this is running off an NBN connection, a 50 meg NBN connection. So, lucky to be getting anywhere near that throughput, and mainly because it's running out of the US. And so there's a fair bit of latency, all right?
Yeah.
But also congestion in today, what's happening around today with everyone working from home and across the internet, it's actually causing a lot more congestion anyway. So the latency is going to be higher, therefore the throughput's going to be higher as well. John,
just a quick question from a user perspective. Does the user see are there any icons that pop up? Is it going to interrupt anything that they're doing right now, or any of those?
Nothing at all. It is totally transparent to the user. Once they've installed the application or the agent, it acts as though it's what we call a steelhead, a local steelhead. So they see nothing else. There is no indication to tell them what's going on. If they want to see, they can actually bring up the screen, the status screen that shows them some of the stats that they will see.
Most users just want it to be faster.
Correct. That's exactly what's happening, right? And John, just also, and Maria as well, is remember, this isn't just for infrastructure as a service and SaaS applications. It's also for many of the traditional applications that are running inside their data centers today. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
So Maria, getting back to that
now, John. Here you go.
The C-suite example. Thanks, Con. We've just demonstrated there. If you think about, how many transactions gets done, and latency lives in Australia. So whilst Con gave an example of a US tenancy, latency does live in Australia. So users that are sitting in Perth are going to typically have 80 milliseconds of latency getting across to Sydney. So, a SharePoint file, for instance, is going to take a long time to download, or anything SaaS-based. Users in regional areas of New South Wales, regional areas of Queensland, and even just large file types. So, we've been working with applications for a long time, and that's our business. So, for a CEO, we'd say, look, if you looked at the performance aspect and thought to yourself, well, if you've got hundreds of people or thousands of people doing tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands of transactions a day, and they're all waiting, you can see immediately the performance improvement. And, there's a very significant uplift there. And, as Con mentioned as well, you see very significant reduction in data.
Yes.
Of the infrastructure as a service players or the hyperscalers. So if you can improve the performance of the business for your customer and also help them manage the egress, we think it's a really powerful value statement for any business, Maria.
Absolutely. Do you have any figures? I know I'm putting you on the spot here, John, but what sort of reductions have you seen either in egress, particularly in the egress spend?
Yeah, sure. Look, you saw there, Con got 84% reduction in data. And, we routinely see 60 to 80%, reduction in data as well. So, when you magnify that across to, if I'm reducing my egress by 60 to 80, and, the commercial models of the hyperscalers being based on, the data you access, customers can do their own sums. And then it's very easy to work out a return on investment working with Riverbed. It's a pretty simple calculation. But I think also it's when we get back to performance, I think I'd just like to highlight one of the misnomers in the industry, Maria, and that is really around sort of SD-WAN and bandwidth. Out there that SD-WAN and really let's call it high throughput links are going to solve business challenges, and we see that each and every day as a challenge. So we recently came across an engineering firm trying to shift CAD files over 400 meg fiber links, and it was taking them 15 to 20 to 30 minutes to download a file. And they've got really high paid engineers sitting there just essentially unproductive and being impacted. So these sorts of things happen all the time, and what we are seeing, interestingly, in this environment that we're in with COVID is concept core applications, the legacy apps or the core ERP systems, things sitting in data centers. All of a sudden performance is more critical than ever. And not being able to access core applications in a timely manner is going to be just as costly to a business. And we already know a lot of businesses are going to be impacted on the top line, but you don't want the bottom line being hurt either by not being unproductive.
Absolutely. Now, final question, John. If for customers who may want to give this a go, say they know Riverbed, but they want to give it a try because right now they may not want to make the move straight away, but they want to at least see if this works for them. Are there any options around that at all, John?
Yeah, absolutely. So existing Riverbed customers, steelhead customers get a free 90-day eval license, which gives them up to 500 seat capacity. And also we can very simply set up evals for any customers that want to have a look at the performance benefits for their business. So our teams can help do that very simply and get that up and running literally in a matter of days, if not less than a day, Maria.
Thank you very much. Was there anything else you wanted to add, Con? Or we said it all?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Excellent.
Thanks for the opportunity, Maria.
No, thank you very much both, and hopefully that's of value to the listeners. And if there is anything that you need, I'm going to post below at the video in terms of the options that John just mentioned. Thank you very much, both of you. Lovely talking to you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Maria. Thanks so much, and stay well, everyone. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Likewise.